harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zimet.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Beverly Zimet Show, where being the best you has just gotten easier. My guest today is calling in from Bailey, Colorado. She's up on the mountain, and sometimes technology has its little glitches. So we don't have a visual today, but we still have an audio, and she's got a great message. Her name is Victoria Barron. Victoria, welcome to the show.
Hey, Beverly, thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited.
Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have so much fun. Victoria, I think we met, oh my gosh, what's this got to be, like 15 years ago or so? Or even longer?
I would think at least.
Yeah.
No one would ever forget you, Bev. You're like a little dynamo.
You know, I pop in and out when you least expect it. I know there's different times because I've been traveling since 97, right? So, well, obviously I knew you before then. Or shortly after that. It's been a long time. You know, it just seems like forever, but it's been great having you in my life. You know, we don't talk to each other, see each other a lot, but hey, you know, when we do, it's great catching up, and it's always fun to have you, you know, in a conversation because you're such a delight. And information, oh my gosh, this gal here is so full of information. You guys are going to love what she has to share today. And I can remember one of the most impactful moments of my life was when I listened to your talk on why your why in life is so important. And I think it really touched me so deep was because identity, I had lost my identity, and I think you know a little bit of my story. You know, back in 1974, when I started on my journey of finding who I was, because I had no identity except by association. You know, and the years that went by and moving through all that and getting into finding who I was, because if you don't know who you are, it's really hard to fulfill your purpose and to really understand and know your why. And when I heard you share that, and I help you write your little booklet up on it and everything, and so I got to read at different times, you know, making sure that there was no mistakes and stuff in it, doing that editing part. It just really has impacted my life, and it still impacts my life today because it's a key point when I talk with clients and stuff as to not only know your identity and your purpose, but know why you've chosen that as a life journey. So I want to thank you for that. So could you tell the audience here a little bit about why it's important to know your why?
Well, absolutely. You know, it's kind of like flailing around in life. If you're not clear and precise on exactly what you want and why, you don't get there. I'll give you an example. I had a girl on my team who was a real dynamo, similar to you, and about your height too. Just a cute little gal, and but a real dynamo as well. And she used to run a TV station, and literally, this girl had a resume that was incredible. And she was on my team, and we were selling an amazing seaweed product. And I remember her saying, "Yeah," she says, "You know, I've really been redefining my why, and my why, you know, I really want to make sure I have enough money to be with my grandkids and help them." At the time she said that, though, I could hear in her voice that it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for her. And so I said to her at the time, I said, "You know, are you sure? What about something specifically for you? And is that, do you want to expand on that why anymore, or do you feel that's sufficient?" Well, 6 months later, she had not done a thing. And we readdressed her why again. See, getting down to the real nitty gritty of why you are doing this, and I mean really getting down to that granular level, like, oh, I want to be of service to others. Okay, well, what does that mean to you? What kind of gratification does that give you? You know, really nailing it as to why are you doing this? in today's world, they want to make it so that you can just kind of hang out and not have to do anything. In fact, I find it really interesting that many businesses will never open again. It's not just interesting, it's sad. And they won't open a great majority of that because there are people who aren't returning to work. I go to an amazing healer across town that does acupuncture and massage, and my favorite, this electric Chinese massage we get every week. And he says, yeah, I can't do this service, this one, or this one, because those people don't want to come back because they make more money on unemployment.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
Yeah, actually that's a pretty big thing, Bev. In fact, if you look today at what's happening, the government is actually trying to come up with a stimulus package that gives you a reason to go back to work because so many people have not gotten back to work for that reason. They make more money on unemployment.
Right.
They make more money on the stimulus. Guys, you've got to have a purpose in life. You have to have a reason to get up. And I don't care if you're retired or you're 16 years old, you've got to have a purpose and a why. And then you got to have a plan. Somebody emailed me yesterday. She goes, oh, I'm real excited to take my team to the next level. I said, well, that's fantastic. What's your plan? Goes back, what plan? What do you mean, what plan? And I'm like,
exactly.
Girlfriend, you are not there if you don't have a written plan.
Right.
It's absolutely imperative to know why you get up every day. What makes your heart sing? What is really your true why? And you never have to share it with a soul. And maybe when you read it, you're like, oh, this is kind of self-consumed. It's okay.
That's right.
If that's what you the purpose, that's what gives you the oomph to get up and go, man, you got to do it. Bev, I saw the most interesting thing I've seen in years. A very dear friend of mine had a big birthday. And he turned 70, and he is a big-time player in my business. And so they did a Zoom with him, and he does several Zooms a day, and everyone surprised him with this particular Zoom.
Okay.
There's a jet going overhead my house. Sorry about that. And so they did this surprise, and everyone there was supposed to give. I've never had a jet that close to me ever. Sorry about that noise.
It's interesting that your mic is picking it up because I know what your house looks like. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Anyway, everybody was supposed to give like a 20, 30-second deal.
Right.
And they wanted me to go first. He's a good friend, and I did my thing. But I will tell you, of anything I've done in 10 years, has not been as impactful as being on that Zoom, and I'll tell you why. When this oh my God, here comes another one.
Well, maybe that's a signal, right? Loud and clear, get this message, right? We're coming to get you. Pay attention.
And if we want to rocket to the moon, we have got to do the basics.
Right.
Anyway, as I was saying before another one comes through, before a third one comes through, make a long story short, we ended up on that Zoom for an hour and a half.
Wow.
Of which, not kidding, people were bawling. I mean, they were crying so hard, and I'm thinking, what the heck? This is what this man did. During COVID, of course, everything closed down.
Right.
A lot of people, and especially if they were older, stayed in their house. And a lot of people did, most people did stay in their house, right? I had no idea because I work from home. I live in the country. I love what I do. Right. I love working from home. I love being in my PJs at 3 p.m. if that's what I want to do, or taking off for my granddaughter's birthday or anything I want to do. I do because I'm self-employed. Which same thing with Bev, gives you a lot of freedom. But I had no idea that most people suffered so dramatically from isolation.
Oh, yeah.
And they would get on and say, you saved me. I've been here for 90 days. One woman said, I've been here for 120 days now, and I have not left my house.
Oh, wow.
And she said, if it were these Zooms every day where you teach me the basics and every day you show me. In other words, on the Zoom, Bev, there's a thing that you can, let's say there's 100 people on there.
Right.
You can actually highlight every one of them and go from picture to picture to picture. He does that on every Zoom when he teaches every day. He does one early, he does one in the afternoon, he does one in the evening, and every person there gets to be recognized. And he'll say, hey, there's Beverly. Oh, Beverly, you sweet thing, don't you look beautiful today? Whatever, a quick recognition. But they had that community. Right. I got to tell you, we are not in this alone. None of us are in this situation or any situation alone. And if you are, you have got to reach out and find the right mentor, whether it be Beverly Ziman, whoever it is, reaching out and finding that community. Because you know what? As life gets stranger, and every day I said, well, can't get any stranger than this, can't get any weirder than this. Right. I have stopped saying that as of yesterday. After I saw 3 or 4 things again that are like, I can't even believe this is happening.
I know,
I'm like, I'm never saying that again. So with the world turning as crazy as it has, it is so important for you to align with you, for you to be real with you, for you to know, okay, I'm going to do XYZ business. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pick that business. I'm going to leave a legacy, and I'm going to do it. Well, what is that going to require? Well, let me tell you something. You've got to have a strong why while you're doing it. You've got to know that purpose, okay? And you've got to make a plan, and you've got to stay focused. And for many people, that's challenging to stay focused. For me, my problem more is getting unfocused because I'm so focused. I focus from 4 in the morning till 10 at night and wouldn't get up unless I had to go grab a celery stick or something, you know. And Bev, I know you're the same way. I mean, we're probably a little too focused. But having that focus and discipline, you know, even, and if you're more one of those people like my husband who can't stay focused for more than 10 seconds, then, you know, you got to put on your day timer. Okay, I'm going to work my business from 9 to 10 this morning. Right. I'm going to watch Zoom. I'm going to watch Beverly from 10 to 11. And right after that Zoom, I'm going to make 2 phone calls for my business. I'm going to make 10 phone calls for my business. I'm going to follow up, or I'm going to make new contacts, or whatever your business is. Do something to reach out. Do something to be a part of a community. Do something to make your heart sing. Because when your heart sings and you love what you do, you will get up and do it. You know, I always say when I talk to a new client, that's what excites me the most, because I can help them with their health. And so they get all excited. I get all excited. They get all excited because we're making a difference.
Right.
We can show them where there's going to be a difference. And so then your heart sings. So whenever I get down, I automatically just pick up the phone and call somebody new and talk to them. So it really is getting deep to me, Beverly. And I saw something the other day, and it was called NAGOO. I've got NAGOO. Now, what could that stand for?
Okay, NAGOO.
Never, ever give up.
Oh, my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So it's all about you. And maybe it isn't a business. Maybe it's your craft, or maybe it's your, you know, you want to teach your grandkids. God knows they need taught today with some of the stuff that they're being taught in school.
Oh my gosh, I know. Some of the stuff they bring home, holy cow, it's like, who told you that, you know? And
yes.
Yeah, it's really quite interesting, some of the things that are being said by these teachers, you know, to these children that are like, wait a minute, that has nothing to do with school. You know, let's keep politics out of this, you know, and a few other things. You know, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
These are things that are personal for the home environment, and it's interesting
yeah.
that, you know, that you brought that up. But as you were talking, there was one word that I didn't hear from you, and I'm going to throw it out there because I feel that this is really critical to everything that you just said, and that's commitment. The commitment to yourself, and then the action to stay committed, right?
Definitely. Most definitely. If you don't have a commitment towards something, like that girlfriend of mine, and actually she didn't work for a TV station, she actually owned the TV station.
Okay.
And this is a person today, and I love her dearly as a person, but this is a person today that has literally learned to live just on the government and find every how to do that. And now she has no life, and she's not happy, and she wants to travel, and she wants to do these things, but she has no life, and she's gone from this dynamo who had a purpose in life and helped a huge amount of people, huge, thousands and thousands, not only with her radio show or TV show, but she did lots of things that helped mankind. Guys, helping mankind's a big deal, and being kind is a big deal.
But the thing is, Victoria, you know as well as I do, helping others is wonderful, but you've got to help yourself first. Right? Because if your cup isn't full inside, you're never going to have fulfillment outside, because you can't give more out of yourself than what you've given to yourself. So you can say, because I know you got a couple little grandkids there, right? And they're growing up like crazy. I remember when they were just little infants and we held them, right? But, so it's like, you can't say you love your grandchildren more than you love yourself. Because if you only love yourself 70%, you'll never love those grandchildren any more than that. You can say you love them 100%, you love them more than that, but really the truth of the matter is you cannot give more out of yourself than what you've given in yourself. And that's what they call self. It's called self, right? Fill your own cup, and then it's automatically going to flow out, and you're going to be so much more of an asset to others when you're a complete asset to yourself. And if you don't put the ET on asset, what are you? Right? Is seriously, you really need to start looking at who am I and where am I? What am I? And this isolation time, this time that we've been, separated, whatever, is a time to really grow within the essence of who you are. And they talk about the awakening, and I feel that this is part of that big awakening. And I really feel that nature, because you know how I am with nature and how I've taught with nature, right? And you're living in the world of nature. But you look at the pollutions, you look at all the destruction that's been going on around the planet. Nature will bring itself back into harmony. It will do what it takes. Whether it's a tsunami, an earthquake, a tornado, it doesn't matter. Nature will bring harmony into itself. So you've got to ask yourself, because you are all parts of nature, what do you need to do to bring yourself into that harmony? Where is your pendulum swinging? Is it over here? Is it over here? You need to bring that pendulum back down into that harmony. And how do you do that? You be committed to yourself. You begin believing in yourself. You start trusting yourself. You start figuring out who you are. As an identity revelation specialist, I help you to become your own self-discovery archaeologist. What does that mean? Well, what is an archaeologist? They don't sit there and throw in a stick of dynamite and blow everything up and then go try to find the pieces and put it back together. They want to find it in its whole. So finding yourself in the wholeness of who you are, it's the same thing. You take that little brush and you start brushing away, and you start moving away the things you are not. And when you can do that, you find who you are. And again, look at the people you associate yourself with. Now we've been isolated. Who are you going to associate with differently? And who are you associating with, in a connection, whether it be a phone call, whether it be a Zoom, whether it be, any other kind of connection, because right now our connections are all through the internet type thing. Thank goodness there's internet, right? So how are you connecting? Who are you going to connect with? Who is spiraling you down here into this blind abyss? Who is out here that's going to pick you up? That's going to lift your spirits. That's going to help you discover who you truly are by helping you on your dig and start moving the things away, because other people are going to see things in you that you aren't, and they're going to see the things that you are, And they're going to tell you. When you can trust, open up and trust those people that you're surrounding yourself with. Are they supporting you? Or are they depressing you? Honey, you don't need any more depression of your own, you know? You certainly don't need theirs. You need somebody that's going to lift you up, right?
Yes.
So,
you're so right, Bev. Everything you said is so right on.
And that's why I feel knowing your why, you know, because the more you know your why, the more your purpose is going to get clear. And you mentioned that clarity and that focus, right? And it's that legacy. It's that legacy. What am I going to leave behind? Where am I going to make an impact? And that's one of the reasons why I started this show, is to help people come together, be able to be that expression of who they are, to be able to start sharing with the masses out here on what is it that helps to make you be that better you in every aspect of your life, whether it's finances, whether it's business, whether it's a relationship, you know, friendships or even more personal relationships, whether it's your health, it doesn't matter. What are you doing every day? This is what gets me up. Victoria, you said you needed a why. What gets you out of bed every morning? What gets me out of bed every morning is, whoa, what am I going to do today to help me be that best me? And this show is really a driving force. It's only been going since March, but I'm telling you, it feels like it's been going forever. And the wonderful speakers like yourself and influencers and entrepreneurs, you know, that have come, you know, from an arena in their life, and the obstacles and the struggles and the challenge that you just keep on going. You know, you had that little word, you know, this is never give up, right? Your Nugru. How did you say that? Right?
Nigu. Never,
so,
ever give up.
Never, ever give up, right? So that is so true. And so when you look at that, and again, you're not meant to fail. You're meant to succeed. You know, so don't look at a failure as being a failure. Look at it as a way that didn't work. You know, it's kind of like Einstein, right? Or not Einstein. Who's the guy that made the electricity? I just drew a blank.
Tesla. Oh, geez.
See, now we both got that blank. Like, oh. You know, I mean.
Well, Tesla's the one that came to mind, but he was Edison. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, so I mean, it took him what, 1,001 times before he got it right to make a light bulb. What if he would have given up on that? Would we be sitting here talking today? Would we have these lights overhead? Probably, but maybe not in the capacity in which we did, because that started a long time ago. So you have to look at it. And what did he say? You know, when people ask him, wow, you know, it took you 1,001 times. What kept you going? He said, well, I just found 1,000 ways that didn't work. That's how I, you know. And when you can look at life, that to me was an impact when I heard that quote for the first time, right? I just found 1,000 ways it didn't work. Look at what's going on in your life right now. You've got a lot of time to spend with yourself. What in your life really wasn't working? What in your life is going to work? Where, again, is your purpose and the element and your drive and your commitment to yourself? Find that why. Because I remember you also said in your talks about the why, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough. Right?
Yep, that's right.
Capitalize on that a little bit. What does that mean to have a why that makes you cry?
Well, it's kind of like that same thing where I told you about my buddy who had the birthday.
Right.
And he's tons of money. I mean, money isn't what he needs. But he was at the time of his life, actually, even though he was doing all these Zooms for people and training them, that he didn't feel appreciated. You know, appreciation and gratitude, and any of us that have done spiritual work and personal growth, it's really important that you give gratitude. And I'll tell you what, we brought that man down to his knees. I've never seen him cry before, but he was crying, his wife was crying, his kids were crying.
You know,
when you see that kind of,
that's special.
It's amazing. Yeah. You gotta, Bev, emphasize the word commitment, and it really is a commitment to yourself.
Right.
And most people, especially women more so than men, most women will commit to others much more than they commit to themselves.
Exactly.
And I know I have struggled with my entire life. I have struggled with that. So it really is good to assess everything in your life, to ask yourself questions every day.
Exactly.
Am I on purpose today? You know, we've taught for years about, every day before I get out of bed, I create my life.
Mm-hmm.
Every day when I go to bed, I guess you might say uncreate my life. In other words, I go to bed, and it's so automatic with me now, I set my, when I go to bed, I literally, let's say I had an argument with my husband.
Right.
Instead of focusing on that, I give gratitude for what a great relationship I have, that we have great communication skills, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Instead of being upset that I didn't get that one person I know would be a runner for the next however long and just make such an impact and would love this business, but they didn't get in. Instead of, I'm grateful for that success, for that conversation I had, and the successes of all the people that are coming in my business that want to change other people's lives.
Right.
When I get up in the morning, I give gratitude for my day. I see my day. And it only takes, sounds like it's a long deal. It's not. It literally, because I've done it every day for so many years, where I set my intention of what my day looks like,
right,
that I don't have to do it long. It's kind of like, kinesiology when you do it like with your fingers and stuff.
right.
All I've got, I don't have to do a whole bunch of things. I can go to a store and test all the waters and do all the things, if, which of these waters is best for me without, having to go through a lot, because I've made it a habit.
Right.
They've always said 21 days. Now they've proven it's like 66 days to make a habit. And so that's why you have to be consistent for 66 days. I bought for my team one time these bracelets, and a church had them, and they did this thing nationwide. I'm sure they're still going. It was pretty darn amazing. And every time you thought a negative thought, you had to change that band from one wrist to the other.
Oh my gosh.
It took the normal person, not the average person, it took them 9 months just to be there so that they didn't have to change it, like every few seconds. Because if you did it right, that's what you did. You had to literally change it. And there was a book I used to teach on years ago called You Can't Afford One Negative Thought. Because if indeed you consider yourself a transmission tower, let's say,
right,
and every thought you put out is what's going to come back, you had darn well better make sure that those thoughts, those words and actions
right,
are putting what you want to receive. And that's why I do that intention before I get up. And yeah, I may have to go to the bathroom really fast because, I've been there all night, and now I'm getting up. But you know what? It literally, honest to gosh,
right.
I'm so used to doing it. It doesn't take more than probably 60 seconds. Now, at night, when I uncreate it, sometimes you got to uncreate all those bad things and then create it and then tell myself how wonderful I'm going to sleep and all this.
Right.
And my head just sits still and I go out. But those are kind of the basics. To me, that's as basic, creating your day and then recreating it at night is as basic as brushing your teeth, as taking a shower, as doing that the water we just did.
Right.
And I know Beverly does the same thing. Intention is huge. And so writing out an intention, typing it up and having it somewhere where you look at that every day until it becomes a habit. So that 66 days later, it's a habit that I am so committed. Yes, I know what my to-do list is. And yes, I'm chomping that elephant first in the day. I'm going to get him first because most of us want to keep that elephant at the end of the day. You're much more likely to conquer that elephant at the beginning of the day.
That's so true. That's so true.
And we've got to be ready to change. One of my incredible stories that I read once was about, they showed an elephant, and when he was a little baby, they chained him up to a tree. They had those ankle, those metal ankle things.
Right.
And so after, I don't know, and they chained him up for like his first 3 days. Well, the elephant kept growing and growing, of course. That elephant was so huge then. They had a little rope. That elephant never ever tried to escape. He never ever tried to escape because he had convinced himself he couldn't escape, because when he was little, he did that.
Right.
We don't have to recreate our past. We can make our future so much different than our past was. We can know that, that big elephant, heck, even if he was on that metal piece, he could rip that trunk of that tree right out, because that's what they do.
Exactly.
But if we tell ourselves we can't do it, that we can't do this, we can't be successful, we can't, whatever it might be, we can't be a good example for people. Oh no, I would never be the top of my class on this. Yes, you can. And maybe it's time to take that action step today and say, you know what? I'm going to get off this call. When I get off this Zoom, I'm going to reassess my life, the different aspects of it, the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual part, the physical part of every part, and just say, is there anything I want to change with that, and how am I going to do that? And make a plan and make a commitment. And I got to tell you, a lot of that commitment has to do with having a buddy. You got to have people who are in the foxhole with you, because if you don't have people in the foxhole, pretty soon you're just kind of getting back in the same old habits, and that's why it takes 60 days.
Exactly, and it's having that accountability partner, right? Is what you're talking about.
Yes.
And that's kind of what the bracelet is, your accountability partner, right? Where you have to switch wrist all the time. And what you're saying here, with the elephant story, it's almost as though it's where we put ourselves in our comfort zone, right? So we have this comfort zone where we become predictable. We might not like it. We might be uncomfortable, but it's an uncomfortable comfortableness, right? And so because it is predictable and feels safe, but is it really safe? It's pretty boring, So this comfort zone of your safety net, like the elephant, he convinced himself that he can't go any further than just right there, however far that rope went in that movement, because, again, it was that training, it was that programming, and that was it. That was the limit. How many times do we limit ourselves in this comfort zone? We like to think outside of the box, but we don't perform outside of the box.
Yes.
Right? So when you say action, it's time to take that action step. Take the walls of that comfort zone, take them down, expose yourself. And you used this word earlier, be vulnerable, right? And that's not always easy. It's not comfortable, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And that's that building of that habit. And you know what else happens too, Victoria? If you want to get into the science behind it, you're building neurotransmitters. When you're staying in a comfort zone, those neurotransmitters start to dissolve and go away because you're not creating anything new. And then what happens at a certain point, the brain begins to shrink and shrink and shrink. Now we have Alzheimer's, dementias, Parkinson's, things like that, because there's no neural pathways that are being made. So you want to get out of that comfort zone. You want to get out there, do some daring things, change. Change is going to happen whether you go with it or not. It's going to happen. So you might as well go with it. Make it what you want. Go on an adventure. Do something you didn't do before that you always wanted to do. Just do it. Be a Nike. Be a Nike. Just do it. Right? And if you like it, do it again. If you don't, then try something new. But you want to build these neural pathways and expand your brain. You want your brain to grow, not shrink, right? And that's a key element.
Definitely.
That's a key element, when it comes to the mindset of things. And mindset is also about the why. I have another question for you. I was asked this
Okay.
with a gal I had on the show here a while back, and we were talking about gratitude and appreciation and stuff like that. And she says, Beverly, I want to ask you this question. So I'm going to ask you, Victoria, what is the difference between gratitude and appreciation?
I think gratitude has the passion behind it for me. Certainly you can appreciate beauty, but if you're grateful for beauty, to me, it's like a different cellular feel. Like I'm looking right now at a picture of of Iggy 4, who's like 1 year old in this picture with a tiger outfit on.
Okay.
Okay. So I can appreciate, and when I go past there, I smile. I appreciate that he makes me smile, and I appreciate that picture, that it's so adorable. But I'll tell you what, I am so grateful that this little guy is in my life, because this little guy brings immense joy to my husband, because he's named after him, Iggy Barron the Fourth.
Right.
And he brings joy to every single person that he's with. Last year, I went to Hobby Lobby, and I found these boxes. They were like beautifully wrapped Victorian boxes, and you open them up. You've seen them.
Right.
This one, it's a teeny little box that looks like a book, kind of. And then I went and I bought all these wooden G's, and I painted them different colors, and I glued the G on there, and that's what I gave out for all the service people, and often I would put money in there, but the service people, and in there it said, we give gratitude every day, and we have a little box of gratitude, and we write out our gratitude, and we stick it in there every day. And then like once a month, we will look back at all the things we're grateful for. Because it's easy to forget how grateful you are for your eyesight, but try closing your eyes and being in a dark room and figuring that out.
Right.
It's grateful that you can talk and not have a raspy voice. It's grateful that you have ears that you can hear and learn all the things that are in front of us today.
Right.
So to me, the gratitude is the passion. It's the cellular part of it. Appreciation to me, and there's a lot of things I appreciate, but man, when I give gratitude, I feel it. So I don't know whether you feel the same way, but to me, that's how I feel.
Well, and that's great, because it's so true, and there really is a difference between gratitude and appreciation, because you can have an appreciation for something, but that doesn't necessarily mean you like it, but you can appreciate it. So if someone says something to you that maybe you take a little offensively or, whatever, but then you start looking and it's like, maybe I need to take a look at that and improve it a little bit. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you for pointing that out, giving me the opportunity to become a better me by eliminating this, because that really doesn't make me look so good, right? So I appreciate it. I might not like it, but I appreciate it. But with gratitude is all these different levels with what you just said. Gratitude, you like it or you love it, right? So there's that different levels where with appreciation, you still have an appreciation for it, but you might not like it because it doesn't always taste good, right? So that is just a little bit of difference in the distinguishing between that. And what was interesting when I gave her my description of it, and I said that, she was just like in awe, because she said she had asked several hundred people that same question, what's the difference between the two? And she said, you're the only one that said you can still be appreciative but not like it, right? And that was part of her teaching and stuff, is learning how to appreciate things that you may not like, because it does give you that direction and that guidance to become that better you as you step through life, right?
Definitely. I'll tell you, giving gratitude, there isn't a personal growth book out there that I don't know at some point that author will mention gratitude and
Right.
how essential it is to be grateful for all those hard lessons that you're similar to what you're talking about, that you're like, oh my God, I did not want to learn this hard. I want it to be easier, but you got to be grateful
Right.
for it, because, man, if it makes you a better you, that's what it's all about.
That's it.
Being that better you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and working back into that archaeology find of who you are and moving away all the things that you're not, it makes things
Yeah.
lighter and easier. And you were talking about the electricity, right? Because we are an electromagnetic being, right? And so when we look at the positive charges and the negative charges of things, right? Because everything is a charge. So when you have an emotion, when you have a feeling, you have a thought, it's going to get fueled with a negative charge or a positive charge. So
Yeah.
when you can look at it from that perspective, and again, when you look at the old baggage that you're holding on to, the stuff that buried in that subconscious, that old database of information, which was your truth back then, that's no longer your truth. But hey, if you don't recognize it, the truth is where it started, your subconscious isn't going to let go of it. So you have to acknowledge that was your truth. And then that kind of takes down the battle, the conflict from the subconscious, because it will win out. And that's part of that charge, because it's, excuse me, it's had that belief system for so long that it's become a
Yes.
personality trait.
Yeah.
So how do you change and how do you shift with that? So you have to surrender to that subconscious and say, you're right. Yep, you know what? That's my truth. And it's like you have these little grandkids, and your subconscious is like these little 5-year-olds. They have something, you know what? This is mine and you ain't going to get it. And they'll put up a fit, cry, kick, scream. But when you can talk to them and take the conflict away and say, okay, I get that you want that. However, you know what? I got this. This is better. And they're going to weigh the odds. And that's what your subconscious does. This other
Yeah.
shiny object, how many times you find yourself going after a shiny object, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay. And they put that one down, they take this one. So when you can do that with your subconscious and with that old baggage, you admit to it and you acknowledge it as being right. Yes, that was my truth. Now you can surrender it and you can get rid of it, and then you can replace everything with that new shiny object. Now you can put in your new database of information, what your new belief is, and it moves into that cell, and that's what you're going to start reacting to and responding with, because everything is action, reaction, right? Cause and effect. So what's in that cell memory is what's going to be on automatic pilot. But you can't change the automatic pilot without changing the airplane that drives it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
So, and I think what I have found when I work with clients and stuff is that acknowledgement, because the consciousness wants to be right too. It's like, yeah, but I don't believe that. That's not true for me. I said, no, it's not. But when you created it was, and that's what's been stored in the cell memory from the age of 5, 6, 10, 12, 20, it doesn't matter. It's been there for so long, it's become your personality trait. It's on autopilot. And if you want to get rid of it, acknowledge it as being true so that you can get rid of the inner conflict. Because that subconscious and consciousness is going to be at a battle continuously, because it's your fight, flight mechanisms. It's what your survival is.
Yeah.
And when you can understand and really grasp that, and you have nothing to lose, and you have everything to gain, So you guys try it sometime. Just try it when you're working on healing yourself and getting rid of a lot of your old baggage. Recognize the issue, acknowledge it as being your truth, then release it, and you're going to find it's going to disappear much faster. But don't forget to replace it with your new information of database, right? So that it can store, because energy doesn't like a void. You know, it's like the world's behind us here, Victoria, right? You know, in space, and they found when they had machines, they could move something over here in space, and then something over here would move. And so they're doing like this, and it's moving on both sides, but there was nothing in between that they could see at the time, right? So they knew that there had to be something there, believed something was there, because one was moving and the other one was moving, right?
Yeah.
So you've got that void of space. You don't want another negative, as you talked about, another negative program coming in there to take over, because there's a whole heck of a lot more negative thoughts out there than there are positive, to be aware of that. Yeah. So when you're doing these clearings and stuff, make sure that as soon as you've given up and the subconscious says, okay, give me the new shiny object, you promised me. But if you don't give that new shiny object back into that cell memory for that subconscious to file, to put on autopilot, it's going to go find something of its own. And it's going to find what's familiar. And what's familiar is something that's negative.
It's true. You know, I have always thought something that's worked, and it came out of that book, You Can't Afford the Even One Negative Thought.
Uh-huh.
We would take an envelope, and I encourage everybody to do this. Just do it one day. That's all you're going to do.
Okay.
And every time, and tell yourself you're going to log every time you think a negative thought. So what I had people do was take just a regular letter envelope, and then if you thought about money, let's say I don't have enough money, just put a dollar sign, on a scrap of paper, and you stick it in the envelope. I have to tell you, when I did that myself, by noon I had 750 negative thoughts on one subject, and I had to change to an 8.5 by 11 big envelope.
Oh my gosh.
You have no idea. Yeah, most people have no clue. And it was, for mine, it was about weight, because I've always struggled with weight.
Sure.
And I thought, well, geez, no wonder I don't lose weight. 750 times before noon, thinking about my fat, and of course, what you focus on is what you get, right?
Right.
So people very much have, every time I've ever had anybody do it,
mm-hmm.
they come back and are like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad. I had no clue that I had that many negative thoughts in my head.
Well, they say, that they tested the thought patterns, because everything flashes, it's all out here and it's going to come through again. It's on a frequency, a frequency is an electrical current. It's going to go through that brain and it's going to pick it up. Doesn't mean it's going to stay there, but it's going to flash through whether you're conscious of it or not. The thing is when you allow yourself to be conscious, because they're saying you have 600 or 60,000 thoughts a day, or 6 million thoughts a day. I mean, some ungodly number, because of the flashing through. So again, start to be aware of some of those thoughts. So that's that's actually a good practice. So you guys that are listening out there, test yourself on that and see what happens. Because it's opening the awareness, right, as to what is going on in your life and what is moving through. You got a lot of time to spend by yourself now, because everybody's been, moved away from interaction. Start interacting with your own thoughts. And every time you have a negative one, like Victoria was saying, throw it in an envelope. That's, I think I'm going to have to try that. That's amazing. Wow. Good.
Well, it's a real eye-opener. Mindfulness is kind of sums it up with that.
Right.
Everything you do, if you're mindful in the steps that you take. We're so used to being on automatic pilot.
Yes,
like
exactly.
I'm a workaholic. It's easy if you're a workaholic to just do the same thing. But if you stop and think, and I've had, the universe starts out by giving you a little sign. And then it gives you a bigger sign and a bigger sign and a bigger sign, and then pretty soon it's a 2x4, and then it's a 2x4 with nails.
Yes. Oh my gosh,
You know?
good description. Yes.
You know, and it just goes from there. So several times in the last few months, I've seen things. I'm like, oh my God, I was so busy when I made that decision. I just did an automatic, and I didn't stop to think. And I'm telling you, if it's happened once, it's happened 10 times in the last 2 months, and they were big issues that if I had just slowed down and stopped telling myself I'm so busy,
Right.
I would have been able to see those things and been able to handle those at least probably dozen situations better, which has future impact. Everything has a future impact.
It does.
It's
So
that ripple, you know. Just
yeah.
Go ahead.
If you know, that way you don't have to go back and do damage control, right?
Yes. Yes. So it really is, and even a small thing like a smile.
Right.
And of course, Colorado we have a crazy governor, and he just, not to get into politics or anything, but he just put in a total mask. You know, you got to wear a mask. You can't go anywhere without a mask.
Right.
And so, if you smile at someone when you're not wearing a mask, it is amazing what it can do.
Oh, for sure.
I am blown away by the number of times people will come back to me in my life. And maybe I won't even have talked to them for 6 years, 10 years, whatever.
Right.
And they will say, I remember that time I went to a meeting and you were the one person who came out and welcomed me, and you took both your hands and held my hand, you know, and you were so genuine about wanting me there, and that anything you could do to help. Or, yeah, I needed that smile that day you gave me, or
right.
you called me a really sweet name. It's all those little things in life, and it is true, what goes around comes around. And when you see that person smile, it makes you want to smile. It makes you want to be a better person. And in today's world, we need a lot more love. We need a lot more smiles. We need a ton of more kindness. It is becoming almost to the point where it's just the reverse, where it always was. In America, it was always the kindness. Most people chose that first.
Right.
Now, people are angry and they're frustrated and blah, 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 and they don't. But you know what? That doesn't mean we have to be. That doesn't mean we can't be the change in the world that we want to see in this world.
Exactly.
And unless we affect our little life and our little portion of the world, it's never going to happen. I mean, my little 6-year-old came home the other day here and said to me, oh, well, Grandma, I'm never getting married and I'm never having a kid. I said, why?
6 years
She says,
old,
well, because
okay.
it's going to affect 6 years old, and she says, I'm not going to have a kid because it affects climate change.
What?
Oh, my God, if I could have strangled the teacher. I am not kidding. She's 6 years old.
It affects climate change?
It affects climate change, so I'm having no baby. I mean, it is
my gosh.
what is going on. I'll tell you what, to me, it is more important than ever that we hang on to our truth. That when people say things to you,
right,
or they tell you things, you check them out. You're your own fact checker, and you check them within your being. You go within just for a second and see if that feels right or if that's total bunk.
Wow.
Or maybe it isn't bunk, but maybe you don't want to live your life like that. Okay? And that's a biggie. Being true to yourself and your own feelings and being able to speak those, that's what's so disappointing to me, that they're shutting down, voices. If you don't agree with someone, with
right,
who they think they are, they're going to shut you down on Twitter and Facebook and Google and everything else. That is so unfair because that's how we got to be great. That's how we invent so many things. We're not squelched. We're like, okay, baby, bring it on. What can we do?
right.
Look at the excitement that people have created, the things they've done even on masks, or, okay, I have to shut down this business, so now I'm going to make hand soap. Okay? Now I'm going to make this or I'm going to do that because, Zoom went from 10 million listeners and watchers, subscribers in 1 week. They went to 220 million folks in 1 week.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I know I was doing my show because I use Zoom as one piece of the platforms, that I use, and oh my gosh, I was having technical difficulties. I says, what the heck? All of a sudden, I had voice, but the person that I was interviewing didn't have a voice, and then they had a voice and I didn't, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to call my tech guy and say, what's going on? We got to figure this out. Now, wait a minute. I paid for Zoom, and it's shutting me off at this time. I mean, it was insane for about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
But the
and
truth is that you're a stick-to-it person. No matter what happens, you're going to plug through it, keep doing it, and find the way out. And I'll tell you what, that's why you have your own show. That's why you're a serial entrepreneur, as am myself. That's why we will survive, because we look for opportunities. And then when the BS is done and we're tired of dealing with it, okay, I've dealt with it, but now what did I learn from that? What can I do next time so I don't have to endure this again? What did I learn out of this? It's amazing to me how much patience a person can develop.
exactly. That's where the Nigu comes in place, right? Nigu?
That's
never ever give
that's
up,
right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Jiminy Christmas, Victoria, we could just go on here forever, and I want to thank you for coming on the show. Even if we couldn't see you, that's okay, but the show must go on. It's just like the mail, the mail must go through, so we're riding our little horses across the country, right? We're out here flying in space to get her done, so the voice carries easier than pictures do sometimes, but that's the way it is. But I so enjoyed all your information and the information that you're sharing with the audience out here today. So, comment below. Let us know what you enjoyed most about what Victoria had to say today. What's your why? Do you have a why that makes you cry? Let us know. How has your why driven you to your purpose, or how has your purpose helped you discover your why? And let us know what you think about gratitude and appreciation and how that works in your life. So you've got some homework to do, right? And don't forget, use that little bracelet trick, or use the little envelope trick. How many thoughts do you have coming between the 6 inches that aren't being productive, right? Check it out, right? So, Victoria, if you have one last thing that you could give our listeners, what would that be?
Make it a fantastic day and a fantastic life.
Oh.
You make it, whatever you choose. All right, sweetheart, thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure. We'll have to do it again, and who knows, maybe we can get that mountaintop to work better up there. But it's time now to say, go out there, be that best you that you can be, because Victoria and I are going to be the best we that we can be, and we will see all of you on the next show. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.